round of introductions, although I think none of us is new, but we'll do it anyway. I'm Gordon Higgins. I live in Belmont. I'm the co-chair of BPAC. Also, say your favorite piece of winter outerwear. Mine is my trusty down vest.
Kyle Rodlands, across the school coordinator with the city. And this is winter inner wear, but I really love it. Long underwear.
And you didn't use newfangled base layer.
Yeah.
That could be an outer layer, Kyle.
Sure.
I'm Herb Levy, live in North Downtown. I am a bike freak, and my favorite piece of winter outerwear is brand new. My wife just put it.
Oh, the new
Oh, beautiful. So soft.
So
Can't beat that.
I love it. Jen Fleischer, I live in Belmont and I don't like winter. And so my favorite, oh no, I'll show you my new piece of favorite outerwear. Look at this Muppety thing that I got for when you ride your bike, you can put it on like this. That's what I love. Mare?
I'm Mary
Awesome.
Right. I live in Price Spring. My favorite winter outerwear is probably the Patagonia down jacket I wear everywhere.
Thomas.
Tommy Sopranik, bike and pedestrian coordinator. Probably the orange raincoat that I wear while biking every day. I had that for 10 years and never wore it. And then when I started biking, I was like, this is perfect. And I wear it every day.
All right, Zoom folks.
There was a call. I went.
Oh, sorry. We'll start with Josh Kahn. Name where you live and favorite piece of winter outerwear or innerwear.
Yeah.
Hey, Josh Cron, Locust Grove, North Avenue. I'm like Herb, I'm a scarf guy.
Scarf guy.
Can you pass it? Pass the mic.
Passing it to Ethan.
Hey, Ethan Tate, Martha Jefferson neighborhood. Favorite winter outerwear is ski boots. Started getting my 6-year-old into skiing this year, and that is a lot of fun. So I will pass it to Peter Krebs.
Yeah, I'm Peter Krebs. I'm a Belmont resident, and I work for the Piedmont Environmental Council. My favorite new-ish piece of outerwear is like waterproof ski mittens that allow me to walk, bike, or run in any weather. My hands are good, at least. Yeah, I'll pass to Azish.
Hi, everyone. Azish Falabi, a Belmont resident. And great question. I never leave home without my puffy coat once it's below 40. So love that. Love that coat.
Pass the mic.
All right. Zoe?
Zoe Mackenber, transit planner with the city. I am was using today my new gloves that are tactile that I can use on my phone while I was out doing bus inventory. So that's a good one.
Heck yeah.
And I will pass it to YY.
Hello, YY, North Downtown. Probably my laughter gel gloves for bike with this hand.
Oh, yeah. Oh. Nice. Paul.
I'm Paul Russo. I'm the city's ADA coordinator, and I really don't have a favorite pair of or any kind of clothes for the winter. I like the winter, so I relax in it. It's great times.
Just embrace the cold.
Yes.
Awesome. All right. I see Cindy and Josh are panelists, but maybe are not, or sorry, are attendees, but are not panelists. But Tommy can allow you to talk if you'd like to join the meeting.
Well, I'll promote them to.
Okay.
They can accept. I think I've already done this before.
Yeah. So Cindy and Josh, if you just accept Tommy's invitation, then. All right. And Josh Karp will pass it to you. Okay. Josh lives near Forest Hills Park and leads the e-bike lending library. And I don't know his favorite winter or
I'm
outerwear.
gonna say goggles.
Goggles, great, let's go with that.
Lives in a windy neighborhood.
And Cindy, welcome you to join us at any point if you like, and fine also if you'd rather not. Thanks, everybody. Approval of the agenda and meeting notes. I just want to acknowledge Meredith and her excellent meeting notes, and even if they don't arrive when she would like them to, they're very thorough, and just really grateful that she shows up every month and records what we talk about. I'm happy to move to approve the agenda and meeting notes from last month.
Yeah.
Can we get a second?
Second.
Great. We did? Anyone?
How about a rousing huzzah?
A huzzah. Huzzah. Good? Yeah, Zoom, we're good? All right. We'll shift to public comments. Anyone have a public comment or feedback? Why?
Yeah, I would like to talk about the budget, and I'm sorry if I didn't have time to like really closely look at it, but my understanding is that it's not much, and it's even lower than like many years ago. And I heard that also the reason, one of the main reason was that there's not specific project attached to it, and the city wouldn't budget without specific project. So I was really kind of, it's hard to reconcile because based on what I know, bike infrastructure is like one of the like really high return project. Every dollar invested, usually people estimate $3 in return in the future due to the improvement in public health, productivity, low maintenance of the infrastructure, and so on and so forth. And also, people estimated that every dollar, I mean, every mile changed from driving to biking, that return that has like $1 or more of return to the society. And it also cuts down carbon emission, like almost eliminate carbon emission. And the ownership cost of driving a car or owning a car is like more than 10K per year, right? And that can directly go to local businesses. And studies have shown that people on the bike spend either about the same amount or more money on local shops because it's much easier to stop and park and spend. And bike cause almost negligible wear and tear to the road infrastructure. So given all these things already known to us, and given that almost no street in Charlottesville have a traffic calming, for instance, and that means I would not feel safe to let my kids like bike alone in most of the Charlottesville street. And given that, it's like it sounds really kind of lame excuse that we cannot spend more because we don't have project. Because in every street I encounter on my route to work or on my route to drop off my kids, like every single street require more traffic calming, more improvement in terms of bike infrastructure and pedestrian infrastructure, of course. So given that, I really cannot reconcile that together. Like I see like literally every street require more work. And I know that this traffic infrastructure is very expensive. Like one street creating this traffic calming infrastructure require like 500K as far as I know. And why there's so little budgeted for bike infrastructure? Yeah, end of comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Wiley. Appreciate that. Anyone else for public comment this evening? And I'm seeing a comment in the chat, and I'm not sure who said it because I can't see the name. Josh Carr, I agree with all this, but maybe staff can talk about funding sources for traffic calming that don't come from bike infrastructure, the bike infrastructure line item in the CIP. And I think what you're referring to is the capital improvements project budget, which is in active conversation right now. So it is absolutely the time to be talking about what we would like to see in that budget. Peter Krebs.
Thanks, Guinevere. Just a quick announcement that tomorrow is our normal monthly Piedmont Mobility Alliance meeting. Normally it's a hybrid meeting, but because of the weather, it's entirely virtual. Information about that meeting can be found at pecva.org/events. I'll also put that in the chat. Thank you. So that's 9 o'clock virtual only, Mobility Alliance.
Thanks, Peter.
Can I just say something to YY's?
Yes, let's make sure we don't have any further public comment. Anyone else for public comment tonight? Thanks, Zach.
Singled out.
I think it would be great if we didn't lock the door at 5 p.m. for a public accessible meeting and have to make a phone call to enter, because what if you don't have a phone and you still want to be involved?
Send your comments to the city manager's office.
And there were 2 people that left the building who wouldn't let me in the door because they didn't know who I was.
So maybe regular committee members can be.
But it was before
crowbar.
5 and it was hard discussion.
Would be
Because we're supposed to be publicly accessible meeting and you're not supposed to have.
Well, your comment is not part of the permanent record. It's going to be on YouTube. I'm sure city manager watches this.
No, accessibility is important for sure. All right. Yes, Tommy, we can give you a minute to respond and then we're going to shift back to our agenda.
I just really quick want to make sure that people understand that YY's comment is specifically about bike infrastructure. This is the Bike and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, so there's millions of dollars set aside towards sidewalk infrastructure. Just keep that in mind. But also keep in mind that there's also a lot of money set aside already for bike infrastructure, and then we have not been able to spend that money. So there is money set aside currently ready to go when projects are ready to be built and approved and all of those fun things. So that's part of the reason why it's not additional funds aren't being requested in the CIP. And there's a lot of funds being set aside for things like a concrete crew for public works so that we can build the necessary infrastructure. So even if you don't see that in the line item, there's a lot of money going into these type of projects, even if it's not specifically on that line item.
Got it. Thank you, Tommy. Seeing Josh's comment that it sounds from Ben like we're going to spend down most of the bike infrastructure fund next year. And point of clarification, this upcoming CIP that is under review right now, under discussion to be voted on by City Council, what is the funding period? Is it just FY27?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So July 1.
Correct.
So it's not like a 5-year plan.
Correct.
No.
Sorry.
Well, it depends on that.
Gosh, yes.
The CIP is a 5-year plan.
Okay.
I'll put a link in the chat when I find it, but CIPs are always 5 years here.
Thank you for the clarification. That's important. And let's table this conversation. I think we can come back to it when we get to the work plan part of the agenda. All right. Any final public comments? All right. This is more of just a heads up, but for our January meeting, well, first thing is that the first Thursday of the month in January is January 1st, so we will not be meeting on the 1st. We'll be meeting on the 8th. So mark your calendars.
Yes. Did you write that down somewhere?
It was in last month's meeting, and I'm going to update the calendar invite as I speak.
It was on the agenda also, I think.
Yeah. Okay. So next month, January 8th, the January meeting is also what we call the annual meeting for BPAC. So it's it's when we elect the new slate of officers. So if anyone is interested in serving as secretary, chair, vice chair / co-chairs, those are the 3 officer positions for BPAC. So just bear that in mind. If anyone would like to let that be known of their interest this evening, please do. If it's something you know and you want to share. Otherwise, we'll talk about it in January.
So weren't there other dates that you all were looking to modify as well?
We did those last month.
Or so they're in the meeting notes that Meredith sent out today.
Yes.
So I can go through and update the city's calendar for all those things.
Yes. I think the only meeting where there was some question was the July meeting, because I think it's like July 3rd or something is the first Thursday. And it was unclear, like, I think often in the July meeting, we cancel because it's so close to July 4th and so many people are out of town. So
Hey,
hello, welcome.
And okay, I'll go back and look at it.
Okay, let me know if you.
Yeah.
All right. So last month we talked about the BPAC work plan. Tommy, is that something you can bring up on screen share? Oh, and I'm so sorry. I'm seeing Peter's comment here in the chat. YY's comments are valid. There's only benefit in him making an articulate comment of that kind in writing to council with the council email address or via public comment. And yes, absolutely. Let's encourage everybody to flex their civic engagement muscles if you care about bike infrastructure funding.
All right, what am I doing?
Screen sharing the BPAC work plan. I sent you a link. Yes, exactly. So we talked last month about the BPAC work plan. There's a couple of hard copies, maybe.
Yeah. Well, I printed one hard copy because the others are like the charter and. Yeah.
If anyone would like to peruse. So we discussed this last month. We took in some really good inputs from folks.
Guinevere, it's not shared for us.
Yeah,
it's coming. It's coming. Tommy's working on it. Thank you, Zoe. So what we'd like to do tonight is just we've woven some of the feedback we've heard. We'd like to revisit this as far as thinking about, like, if I were doing this over again, I would actually bucket this a little differently. I would be thinking about BPAC, like the buckets of activity for BPAC as advocacy, advisory, like advising staff and city leadership and other city committees, and education and outreach. And then I would put goals kind of under each of those buckets so that it feels very clear kind of what the lanes are for BPAC, and then where everything kind of sorts out. Right now it feels a little ad hoc, or like it feels a little disorganized. So I'll just name that, and I'm happy to go back and kind of improve this work plan, like to restructure it so it just feels a little bit more organized. Because I think we've got it, and maybe this is just how my brain works, but it feels like we've got like some things are goals and some things are like activities, and anyway, it's just like it feels a little out of whack. But I would also like us to think about, like, how do we want to be fleshing out each of these things so that it feels very clear, recognizing that there are always things to react to, like there's always just going to be stuff that no one could prepare for. And I think the clearer we can all be at the outset about the things we want to advocate for, the things we want to, we'll always like be in sort of reactive mode when it comes to requests from staff about how to weigh in, like, for example, on things like the VEO agreement, or the city transportation plan. So things that BPAC has always done as an advisory body. But I think also wanting to be a little bit more proactive about, like, what do we want to, if we look back over the last 12 months, what is it that we want to say we've accomplished? So kind of thinking about it in those terms, recognizing we are not an organization, we don't have funding, we are not paid. This is all something that we do, with the exception of staff kind of off the sides of our desks or bikes or whatever. So, we want our goals to be right-sized for an all-volunteer city committee. And I think we want to be strategic. Part of that is also making sure that we're working in deep coordination with other advocacy efforts in the community, like Mobility Alliance, like Livable Seaville, like C3, who share a lot of the same goals as BPAC. And so how can we not just think of ourselves as like advising city staff and kind of working within city government only, but how can we also be a kind of part of a broader ecosystem of activities that's, where we're all advocating for the same thing, we're all kind of singing from the same songbook. So part of that work is also just making sure that we are, thankfully we have folks like Peter here. Oftentimes Kevin Winchell from Community Bikes is here, Five, and others who are coming to BPAC as members of their respective organizations. So we are already in coordination, but how can we make sure that we're like more deeply aligned? Jen, I know you had suggested that we tend to some of the bullets that don't feel kind of as well or fully fleshed out as they could be. And I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I just wanted to make sure we were addressing what you shared with me and James over email.
Yeah, I think we just want to get to a place, or what James was suggesting is like, can we thread the needle so that we are getting them closer to final without workshopping the whole rest of the meeting on them, so that in January at that annual meeting, then we can really tie them up with a bow. And so I think it's number 3, Tommy, if you'll, so this had kind of the most questions to it. And so I wondered if we should start with number 3 and then get this a little more solid. And maybe number 5, outreach in the community. Now, unfortunately, one is advisory and the other is education and outreach. So they'd be under 2 different buckets in your revision. But I think particularly number 3, if we do want to go forward with that as part of the work plan, is one that could be very powerful for BPAC to advise, because it is it has a lot of policy implications. Thank you. And it'd be nice if we were at the head of that discussion. Throwing that out there. Okay.
Just kind of a reaction to what you said. This is a quantum leap for BPAC. We don't have to be perfect out of the gate. So, let's reward ourselves, pat ourselves deeply on the back for getting this far, knowing that we can make some improvements, knowing that a year from now we will have learned how to really massage this stuff even more effectively and more cleanly. But this is a big step, and it's a great one.
Thanks. Absolutely. I think Herb is absolutely correct. And I think none of this is even possible to think about without the fact that y'all show up every month and you're willing to serve on subcommittees and you care about this stuff. Just thank you. I'm realizing too, Jen, with number 3, part of what it's this is advisory. This is also has policy implications, as you're naming. And a lot of, I think, what the questions are that are kind of embedded in here are actually things for the quick build subcommittee to take on as the work of formalizing quick build process.
Oh, so right. Okay.
So in some ways, again, as I'm realizing kind of how disorganized this work plan is, I think we could just be adjusting this. So it's no, the thing to do is formalizing the committee and formalizing the process.
Yeah.
And then let's turn that over to the subcommittee over the coming year to make that happen. So maybe that's a cheat, but
no, it's not a cheat unless it isn't meant, unless quick build is not meant to be in subcommittee. Then that's the only reason. Is it really something that deserves all of BPAC's attention, or should it really live in a subcommittee? I don't know. Mm-hmm. I came to it through a subcommittee, but that's how I entered BPAC, was through the subcommittee. So I don't know how
anyone can be on a subcommittee.
Anyone can be on a subcommittee. So
So I thought about quick build at some point, and not from the starting gate. think we ought to be bringing this to council so that there is a sense of this is the way it goes. This is the means by which the departments are expected to respond to it. This is the way that it's not just an exercise; it's an effective tool.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I just want to make sure. What is the effective tool?
The quick build process.
Okay. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, and like formalizing, there were quick builds put down, where I live on the slip lane around like Monticello Avenue turning onto Carlton, like those flex posts got eliminated within like weeks. So it's like, well, what does that mean? Maybe a quick build doesn't belong here. Maybe they're, maybe the whole intersection needs to get redesigned. I don't know, but like, there are different scenarios where it's like, what do we do in these different scenarios? What are they telling us? And what's the kind of the feedback mechanism to ensure that and I've had outside conversations about this too, where it's like, what kind of data do we need to collect? Or do we need to collect any data at all? Because it's just common sense. Like you shorten the crosswalk and you make it harder for vehicles to make a turn going quickly. Like you've just made the thing safer. You've made the intersection safer. Yes, we could collect data on that, but it just makes sense. So then what is the process by which we turn those flex posts and paint into concrete curbing? So lots of things to flesh out as we think about it.
So the next step, I want to make sure you don't yada yada that next step, because that's like a big jump.
Well, yeah, because where this came from was because the city launched quick builds without a plan. So really, they should have done this work, right? The city department for quick builds, whoever that lives under, should have
Without a process.
Should have had a process and a strategy and a plan. And they did it. They just started putting shit down, which was awesome. But also now we're like, crap, you need a plan, and we'll help you make the plan. That's essentially what we're saying, is that we're going to be here to advise you as the experts in making this plan. And this strategy moving forward, which includes tracking and
assessment
and evaluation
and prioritization.
But I guess that what I'm thinking is just want to make sure we're all clear. There's going to be a level of prioritization that lives outside of BPAC.
Yes.
Engineering are going to have to figure out, is this an actual, Kyle knows this very well, all the projects he's got turned from paint plastic to concrete. Some of them are not feasible because of drainage, yada, yada, yada. But that's not something that BPAC's going to figure out. But maybe public engineering can come and do a report and say why there are issues with this one turning into concrete. But you need to bake that into your plan in some capacity.
And have a reporting mechanism so we can know that.
To that point, that prioritization is good feedback for us internally.
Right.
To see.
Yeah, it's good for everybody.
Right.
Right.
And we'll take that, and then it's we can, go at it with a red pen and be like, this is a huge, streetscape plan, not just one little.
So FYI, we're going to learn more about this in the coming months. But OSE's new platform that she spoke to us 6 months ago about, I think is going to be helpful. And the quick build page can have a lot more ability to engage with the public on that type of stuff.
And I think also we're here for elevating the blind spots that tend to come with others. You have a chat thingy.
Yeah,
that tend to come with this, which is, and don't forget to tell the public.
Yes. And I think
and don't let it be.
Emails could be saved, right? If you just had a tracker, the county has a tracker for all their projects, or even a spreadsheet where it's just, there's just a status column, and we can say denied hardening because of drainage, just a way to save those of us who track these things a lot of time.
Yeah, I got a peek behind OSE's platform a little bit this week, and I have a training for it next week.
Awesome.
It right away jumped out at me as Public Works Transportation Project spreadsheet leads a lit. This would be the first case study for this new platform, for sure. So
I want to see that.
Awesome. Well, that's important. I know there's people on the call who care about that.
There is a comment here that Josh just shared the current draft. I'll just say, yes, it's a 5-year plan. this doesn't necessarily stop anyone from the public or BPAC going to council and saying, yeah, you've got your 5-year plan, but like, why don't you put some money aside for this project or what, you know what I mean? So the budget's an evolving thing each year, even though there's a 5-year CIP.
And now is the time to be asking for what we want in that CIP budget, not the done deal. I mean, okay. All right, so back to our, I think I would like to reorganize this and present it again in January to vote on. If I'm not hearing like a whole lot of, I mean, everyone has access to this document and everyone can drop their comments in, can quibble with anything that's here or make it better. But I think the goal would be like, let's start 2026 with a clear understanding. Let's get our subcommittees sorted. And a clear understanding of, you know, what it is we're working on. What are BPAC's goals? When we look back over 2026, what do we want to say we did? And then let's get to work. So that sound good?
And to the extent possible, word things that are in measurable terms.
Yeah.
And I'll throw a comment in there that just says, I think it is a good thing to punt it to a subcommittee to tackle, unless we decide it's such a big thing that, you know, to the BPAC legacy, that it has to be a whole group thing.
Well, and I think the subcommittee is also like reporting back to BPAC and saying,
that's true.
What do you think? And how can you improve this draft build process that we've developed? But another question, maybe this is actually a better question for the subcommittee, but is also, like if BPAC goes to the trouble of doing all of this, and maybe this is what you were getting at, Herb, with like, let's get city council involved, is like, who's to say that Public Works and engineering have to do what we say they should do with QuickBooks? Like, how does it go from like our good thought and care and development of a process into actual like policy implementation?
That was really my point. If there's a council approved process, then it doesn't come from a small group of citizens. It comes from council saying, as long as it follows in this fashion, then it rules the interdepartmental pushbacks.
Yeah. And maybe it means like,
I think Nat, me and someone else have to say to Sam, make this happen. I don't know. I'm still learning. I don't know.
I would just say realistically, to answer your question, it happens in a couple different ways. Some of them are more formal than others.
Yeah. How's that?
So BPAC can think strategically on how to do that. You could also think about how to work with council and how to formalize that process. You know, there might be some benefit from across the board, city looking at how to formalize these type of things from the ground up.
Yeah, I actually want to ask that question. I'm going to ask the question.
So glad you're here.
Sam seems like, why is Jen asking so
much? I'm struggling with that type of answer as well, right? Yeah. So internally, on our side, NDS, we've got some good ideas, and we struggle also with how to implement them, right? So I think we are going to hopefully work well as a team, even if we don't always see eye to eye on like how we can like, you know, build consensus and show that the city's working well with the community, so therefore these things should happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, we don't have sometimes the decision making power over here on this side of City Hall.
Hey, this is Peter. I'd like to just add one thing, which is as the city's developing its transportation plan, there should be a whole section about procedures. That's one of the things that is really good about the city's park master plan is it doesn't only look at like, in fact, it probably doesn't look enough at like what our actual parks need park by park, but it does talk about like what's holding the parks department back. And this is like the transportation version of that.
Nice. I like that idea. I'm adding it as a sub bullet under the transportation master plan. Thanks, Peter.
Are we saying that we need a written that we need that procedure all written down, or a written resource for those procedures, or that one exists and that we want to edit it?
It does not exist. It's not written anywhere. Other communities, like I've seen the one for Milwaukee, they have a quick build, and like any resident, there's a process by which you can request a quick build in your neighborhood. So I think that's what we want this committee to figure out is like, how do we assess the locations of quick builds? How do we kind of formally recommend those locations to city staff? How do we ensure that the quick builds are either like working? How do we assess if they're working or not? How do we prioritize or assess which ones should be turned into hardened infrastructure? And then prioritize, because we need the hardened infrastructure everywhere. And how do we decide like which projects come first? So that kind of thing. And it really is like gonna require the input and buy-in from multiple city departments. It's not just a bike head.
And the neighborhood. Because if the neighborhood isn't there from the outset, we can be moving the train down the tracks and notice that the track just got disconnected because the neighborhood really didn't buy into our solution.
Yeah.
So.
And one piece of that is, we heard from Brendan and Caleb last month, getting feedback, kind of working with them to collect feedback on the quick builds that have gone down so far. With the exception of, some strife around the Oakleaf Delmar intersection, I've not heard a lot of like people being up in arms about quick builds. Belmont Avenue. Oh. Is that a quick build though? Or is that like a safe thing?
It's not part of the urgent transportation funds, but it is a quick build.
It is a quick build.
It's using quick build materials.
Yeah, it's an example of a quick build type project that had a lot of neighborhood feedback and involvement.
Yes.
Yes.
I think one major change though is that it was a quick build that also involved taking a formerly two-way street and turning it into a one-way street, which I don't know that any other quick build has done that. And do you think what's your sense of like, what do people not like about that project?
Oh my gosh. I mean, that's a list. I mean, we could have a whole meeting about that. But I mean, to kind of run with one point that you just made and not really answer your question, like maybe there is some kind of definition to quick build, or it's like, are we changing the whole traffic pattern? Does that still fall under the purview of a quick build? Right. So like, where are the guardrails?
And I think that a quick build has to involve like a lot of public engagement and like a long process and lots of staff time. And I think maybe it's not a quick build, even if it kind of technically is quick build materials.
Well, maybe that. So what I was thinking though is just now is, hopefully we get to a point where this is just a program.
Yes.
We have it defined.
Yes.
And we do a good job of communicating it to our citizens so they are not shocked by what this plastic thing is all about. And that kind of goes back to what Sai was working on, is like this handout of sorts, right? Like this like what is a bump out? Like defining what these terms mean for our public to better understand, so that like there isn't necessarily this big lift every time one project goes in, because it has become not routine per se, but like we've raised our citizens' knowledge about this program.
Yeah, falls in the education bucket.
Right.
Of activity.
There are a couple
Two kinds
comments
of
there from
pushback.
YY.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, for finish your thought and we'll put it in chat.
There are two kinds of pushbacks a neighborhood might provide. One is that we don't exactly like or we love the approach that you're taking. The other one is that's a great idea, but this other project's much more important to us. It could be a quick vote. So it's both of those kind of things that we need to build into taking into account.
Yeah, feedback is gonna
And there, real quick, there was a couple other pushbacks on some of the projects. Some of those, some of it was like, I don't love the actual execution or design, but I'm fine with like it existing. I would prefer if it was done differently. It wasn't taken as harshly as Oak Leaf or Greenleaf, but and then the actual design itself probably should have been differently. Technically,
that was a tough one.
Well, it would be remarkable if we came up with a political initiative that had 100% support, right? So the fact that there is pushback is expected.
Exactly. And it doesn't mean we stop what we're doing. YY shares things like daylighting can be a simple criterion that can be mechanically applied to everywhere without manually specifying locations. I may be wrong, but lots of quick builds can be like that. If we have X, it means we can quick build Y. So like, yeah, there's like if you meet a certain set of criterion characteristics, then bam, you get your quick build, rather than manually identifying them.
That goes back to Jen's matrix, which I'll say can be a thing, and I think y'all should consider doing it. There still needs to be a level of like nuance and understanding about each neighborhood's differently. The people who live in those neighborhoods react differently to different things. Yada yada yada. So
yes. We are a little over time on our work plan conversation. So expect more from me over December, and maybe if you don't mind doing a little reading over the holidays to see how I've shifted our work plan proposal before our January meeting, that'd be awesome. But we'll send that out. Sending it over to Tommy to talk about Bayo. I thought there was going to be like I don't know. I guess Bayo got put on the agenda a little late, but that's going to be a lot of like pitchforks.
So I sent around, or Guinevere or James, since the staff updates as well as the VO permit with VO, or the dockless mobility permit with VO that was signed just over a month ago. As part of that plan or that permit, they are required to give us essentially 3 plans and a template. Each one of those was an attachment in that email. So after I kind of maybe present some of these things to everybody, I think, in my opinion, what would be helpful is if everyone had a month to look over these plans, and then on January, I can collect feedback from BPAC, and then I can make recommendations to VO. Just as a heads up, they turned in some of these plans a couple weeks ago. I asked them to go back to the drawing board. So what you're seeing here is a significant step up from what they had originally presented.
So Jamie. What do you
So let's start maybe. So there's the staffing plan, and a lot of this for folks who aren't in the day to day may not mean much, but the most important thing about this staffing plan is actually going to be for me, which is going to be part of the monthly reporting template. So meaning every month I'm going to be able to see how many people they plan on staffing, the times of their shifts, and then I'll be able to see the previous months, like what actually happened. That's been very difficult from our city staff's perspective to fully get a good answer of how many technicians they actually have physically rebalancing, moving, and reporting to violations. So yes. So again, they're on this is technically a 3-year permit. there are many opportunities for us to like cancel and tell them to like close shop and get out of town quickly if needs be. We really worked hard on baking in levels of accountability towards VIO or any other permit vendor in our city. These 4 plans were set up so that we can really dive into these 4 specific things and have input from like BPAC and others to help us further hold them accountable while also having a good program and system in place. So before I move on to the other 2 kind of plans, which is the marketing and community engagement and the parking operations plan, are there questions either online or here in the room about the permit or anything else?
Is this who makes the final decision on the plan and how it gets approved?
The city manager or their designee will approve the plan, and they have 6 months to get approval. And if it's not approved within 6 months, then the permit is canceled.
Okay.
And if they weren't doing a good job in those first 6 months, permit can also be canceled. So it's not, all things are true.
All right.
How much do we know, like how much more they're investing in this market?
Investing
Like in
staff, like research.
Comparatively, like how much?
That's a good question. I'm probably not going to get the straight answer, to be perfectly straight, from them. Like they're not going to tell me like, well, we have these paying tax in the Columbus market. And I have ways around that I'll mention here in a second, but I will just say since June of this year, they have significantly increased staff. Now, the problem is staff come and go for a variety of reasons. But compared to where we were last year, it's like night and day. There were some days last year where I don't think they had people working for a variety of reasons. But there is a significant increase in overall staff operations. And we typically meet with them on a bi-weekly schedule. It's not been a good way to meet. We meet for 15 minutes. I don't have anything in front of me to review. Like I don't have questions. So that's why I'm forcing them to come up with a monthly template that they give me days before a meeting. I can review it. I can come with questions. I can mention why was this shift empty or why did you have 2 people or whatever. It was. I can come prepared to those meetings, and we can make these reports available to BPAC as well as part of the staff report.
Do we have access to customer complaints or like issues flagged or anything? Do you have access to that or
like what are the complaints?
Yeah.
They are supposed to, as part of their monthly report, identify the number of fines and penalties issued, includes violations by level and number of rider accounts deactivated due to escalating violation levels, number and nature of complaints reported through VIO's customer service portals.
Okay, and there are complaints and they have a couple of different reporting options. Are they, and it's one of them is easier to fill out than the other and it's not quite a complaint. Do we have access? The last time we used it at least. Do we have access to all of the reports?
No, well, I can get. I mean, they need to provide on request anything that I request. So if I have something I want specifically, they'll have to provide it. There is their online 24/7 customer service portal, and then there's the My CVille that people are reporting and that they promote people to report. I have access to all that stuff. And those are the ones that VIO now gets at this real time as I do. So they'll see complaints and reports at the same time.
Okay.
And they send a person out to fix those in real time? Is that the implication?
Correct. That's why I'll get the report. Basically, the report comes to me. I am the owner of that complaint in my CVille, and then I just set up an email rule that automatically forwards that complaint to VIO, so they get it as soon as I get it. And then basically what happens within the next couple hours, I'll get an email from the general manager saying that that's been taken care of. The downside to that system is I don't get a report from the actual tech who moved it. So like it might seem like the thing was moved 6 hours later when in fact it was moved within 45 minutes or an hour and a half or whatever, if that makes sense. Which is why we baked into the permits the need for them to provide, let me make sure I get the wording accurate on here. They must provide an online platform accessible by desktop that allows city staff to see the live locations of all devices. This online resource should provide a map and locations and unique identifiers for each device, as well as an indication of how long a device has been at a location and its current battery charge status. The third thing, battery, whatever. The most important thing for me is I want to know how long a device has been idle.
Yeah.
The permit used to say they can have up to 5 days. So like ideally you park it out in that hub and it doesn't move for 5 days, fine. The problem we're seeing is they park it anywhere and everywhere and they don't know that, it might be parked fine, but in reality it's blocking the sidewalk. So we bumped it to 3 days. So it used to be 5 days, now it's 3 days. I would love to get to a point where in other municipalities it's like every day.
Unless it's in a designated spot.
So I started coming through these plans and adding my own notes. To some degree, I don't necessarily want to say what I'm thinking. I'd love to kind of maybe hear your thoughts before I just interject my thoughts into making your thoughts.
I had some notes.
Yeah.
On parking in particular. I think there should be on the bikes. There is a whole long list of like reminders on the bike. Don't ride on sidewalks. Wear a helmet. There's nothing about parking on sidewalks, and that you should not do it.
Because it's legal. You can park on sidewalks as long as it's not blocking.
Blocking a sidewalk. Do not block a sidewalk.
Right.
But like
So
if someone's doing that, then they're just an asshole who's doing that. Like that's
well, not necessarily.
I think there are people who are clueless.
There are people who definitely clueless. We've been on neighborhood walks with UVA students specifically and watching me move a VO and they're like asking me why I'm doing that. They're nice people. They're coming to like a neighborhood walk. They just it did not strike them. They didn't understand. They're undergrads. They see these things everywhere. They don't understand. The biggest issue I saw from day one is VO does not have a way to does not have a great way to communicate to its user group. And that hasn't changed.
Right.
They aren't going to change. You can sign up with a cell phone. They're going to give you a couple notifications here and there. They don't have like a newsletter and a captive audience listening to every word they say.
Well, and most people would opt out of that.
Correct.
Okay, so my next note, just make it very hard for people to not understand. And I would actually take issue with yes, I get some sidewalks are very wide, there's plenty of space. There are even bike rails on some sidewalks. But I also am kind of like, well, if you just have a blanket no parking on a sidewalk rule, because the rule as it's written in the permit right now is like, there's something about like 36 inches and it must be like, and I'm like, that's too complicated. Just have a blanket rule. No parking on sidewalks.
I'm gonna wait to make any of my comments. I would love feel free to write it down or send.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think
you're telling me now, but you're saying
yeah.
All right.
Do you want any interaction with your notes, or would you rather go through them on?
Go for it.
Are you saying like that it wouldn't be possible to park it in, like it would be a block the same way they have for Lime scooters, some of the other scooters that you have in other cities, that you actually it'll just keep running up your time?
I mean, that would be that's fine.
That would be ideal.
I would also think that
I think the $5 fine and a $10 fine are just like woefully insignificant.
Yeah,
no one cares.
It just is going to drain your account if you don't park it properly.
Yeah.
That's what
I think we just need something that's like a little bit more, like maybe a $30 fine or a $50 fine would be, I don't know, like let's start.
Except for a lot of the people using this are kids a lot of people using this are kids,
Yeah.
and they are kids who will not have $30 to spend on that.
I don't believe in fines, but I just mean like you can only park it in a zone that is zoned for parking.
And if you don't, the meter keeps running.
Yeah, basically. And it'll keep running until you park it properly.
So let me just give you a heads up on a couple things. Number one, at UVA on grounds, they have required parking zones. So you have to park in those zones. The problem with that is the GPS is not totally accurate. So it might say that you're in a zone when you're really not in the zone. But a lot of students, and you can ask Peter or Patrick who comes to these meetings from UVA, will just don't care.
Yeah.
And it'll just keep running, and their daddy or mommy's paying for it. So there's those kids that you're talking about, Jen, and then there's these other kids
$5
who don't care about it.
Yeah.
So
So yes, that is important, and maybe for the Vail Access Program, we have a different set of rules. Also.
And the kids that Jen's referring to are like, I'm assuming under 18 that legally aren't allowed to use these things.
Oh,
But
sorry, that's who I'm talking about.
But I mean that's fine. I mean it's not fine. Like it's gonna happen.
Right.
I'm just saying what the reality of the program is, right? And so it's probably their parents who they're using their parents' account, right? So anyhow.
All right, I have more notes, but I want to let
I
her.
just see Paul's hand up for a long time.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Paul. Please go ahead. There's also some comments in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. It just took me a second and my camera's not working, so I apologize as well on that. I'm here pretty much received issues about the parking, and the parking really has me concerned. How I see it written, it gives the 36 inches, and the 36 inches, I know they're going off a standard. They're going off the old ADAG standard under the Americans with Disabilities Act, but the city uses PROAG. The Commonwealth of Virginia uses PROAG. PROAG has been adopted by the Department of Transportation. And I'm sorry to give a history on this, but 36 inches is not a good standard whatsoever. It gives zero room for error. And so as soon as somebody parks a scooter there, if it goes into the right of way just a little off, you're creating an ADA issue for the city of Charlottesville, and we're violating access for people with disabilities. And that's a civil rights issue. And you're not allowing somebody to pass or have room to move if you're parking that scooter there really can cause a lot of issues, and it can cause federal lawsuits for the city. Most places I've researched on since I've looked at this, since I received the issue today, go to 48 to 60 inches of clearance because it gives real world accessibility. You want people to be able to move, and especially your people that have disabilities. Policy doesn't even put in there about curb ramps. It doesn't address them whatsoever from what I've seen. So I have a lot of issues with it. And I think your committee should really work on this, because you're baking in ADA problems and you're creating civil rights issues if you leave that policy in there like it is.
Yeah.
Thank you, Paul.
You're welcome.
So I said I wasn't gonna say what my comments are. The thing that I'm leaning towards, and you guys can think this over, is no parking on any sidewalk unless designated.
Yes.
So it could be designated physically with a sign, like an orange hub or an actual sign, or it could be designated virtually on the app.
Mhm.
So if it's designated virtually on the app, you'll see that, and we can bake in some other things in here in terms of it. But it would be hard to communicate anything to the user about 48 inches, 36 inches, 60 inches, or whatever it might be. Other cities definitely do all this stuff differently. Some are more successful than others. Some of them have an active program, some of them don't. But after looking at everything, this to me from a communication standpoint seems to be the simplest is the best. But I'm happy to hear other thoughts. You guys are good at communication, and so if there's some other element here that I should be thinking of, please let me know.
One thing I would really hate to see if we were going to do like block, like the zones where you're not allowed to park. It's really shitty when you're trying to like if you're somewhere that there's just this huge area that's like historical district and you're not allowed to park anything anywhere, and you like in DC, for example, you can't park anywhere near the train station. And it's really hard to figure out where you can park one of these things, and you're trying to catch a train, and then you're like, you're just trying to find like a correct zone to park. And so things like that are terrible barriers that cost money, and they're not clear before you start out on your journey. You may not have known this before you left because there's no integration of, say, Google Maps with the parking. So I wonder if there's something where could there be a feature in Veo where you just like quickly put in where you're going and it'll show
You
you
can
where
do
there's
that.
a blackout?
Yeah, where things are blacked out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can also put in your address and like it'll give you turn by turn directions to where you want to go.
In Veo.
It used to be, yeah. I will say the thing that you just said, Sai, that also I wanted to say, would BPAC like to see like a planned map of all these virtual and physical locations?
Yeah, let's do that.
But I think even less so than the instructions. You're like, I need to know where I'm parking this thing when I get there.
Kind of, yeah. Like I need to know that when I get there, like I want to do the right thing and park it correctly, but I'm also trying to get to a place.
Right, like help you out technology.
Where the hell is the parking? It's not integrated. I can't use Google Maps in the app, and I'm trying to cross-reference while also trying to sprint for a train ultimately.
Yeah. I had a similar thought where it was like, can't like either by geolocation or because you're in their app, like can Veo just tell you like, oh, there is a safe and legal parking spot like 30 feet ahead on the left. Like, because it knows where you are. I mean, to a certain degree. So some kind of alert that's like, your nearest legal parking spot is.
How does Docs Mobility do it? How does like City like to? How do you know?
You see it on the app, like you see it in the map. You're like, oh, that's okay. My nearest thing is like 3 blocks away, so I gotta.
But are those actual physical docs?
They're physical docs.
Yeah, they're.
But if you have physical, I mean, this is where you would need the map. You'd need the Dockless Mobility Hub. What does Natalie want to call them? She wants to rename them.
She just wants to replace them with
She wants a picture. So, but we'll call the Dockless Mobility Hubs, the orange blocks. Those are all located, like safe and legal parking is somehow identified, even if it's not in a hub. Well, you can't call it a dock because it's not charging the bike.
I mean, I want to be like reasonable with the expectations. This is not a very sophisticated app or service that we're talking about. So, when I'm not trying to assume that the GPS will be so precise as to allow for, that level of detail. Being like, you're in the right of way, get out of the right of way, or else you're not allowed to park. Because I don't think it. I mean, even with benefit services.
Ask them. It seems like they have an easy app of being like, oh, the GPS is always so good. But
Well, it depends on what you're expecting the GPS to do, right? The GPS can't tell the difference between a scooter on the sidewalk and a scooter in the grass next to the sidewalk.
Yeah.
But it can tell if you're within 30 feet of the dockless mobility station.
yeah, like
Right,
I think
so-
saying that, or like if there are ways to identify on the map, like it's not maybe yet a Dockless Mobility Hub, but it's still like a safe and legal place to park where this can just be identified on the map. And there can be an alert as you're ending your ride.
Well, under the current system, isn't the grass next to the sidewalk a safe and legal place to park? Yeah, so it wouldn't be able to tell the difference between that.
But it
And
could
her-
identify, it could just say like the grass over here is safe and legal. I don't know. I'm just like, is there a way to use the technology here that can be helpful to help people know like, oh, my app just told me where to park this bike. I don't have to leave it on the sidewalk. I don't know.
So, I mean, the thing that they were pushing for this past year is this AI parking tool that fizzled out, and I hadn't heard anything in a while about it until I saw in this plan this week that there's some AI tool about helmet usage now.
Right.
That's new to me. I haven't heard that before. But they were trying to double down on when you park your device, you have to take a picture. And the AI would be able to tell if that was a legal place to park your scooter or your device. And I can't remember there were some issues. Let's just say that with, and I'll tell you guys later because it's kind of funny.
And sorry, I'm realizing I've also fixed all
Yeah.
of the we're eating into our staff updates.
So I will ask BPAC. I will ask VO questions about map and integration. Okay, all right.
And I would fully and 100% get on board with the no parking on sidewalks unless there is a sign designated area.
Or virtual is designated
Or
virtually,
whatever, designated, yes, a designated legal place to park. And I think those should be signs, right? Like, can we just make it really hard for people to park badly?
No, because you've got under 18s around.
That's a different problem.
Ridden a bike or driven a car lately?
The science. All right, so
Josh had a comment.
Josh says turn car parking spaces into scooter parking at every street. Heck yeah. And there was a previous comment from Josh Harp about, with an update from Rory Stoltenberg, that CIP funding is binding in the first year, but the following 4 years are a plan that can be changed. And I think Sam's position is that he'll support adding more money in future years if staff bring him more projects. All right, let's ask staff to bring him more projects. Okay, staff updates, questions for staff.
I have a question for staff.
Yeah.
Which is very related to a conversation we had earlier about a written procedure for quick builds. Is there a written procedure for infrastructure projects that aren't quick builds, like normal infrastructure projects? And where do I find that?
Would you
Is that like a my daughter?
yeah, this seems a little
It's a very broad question, and I apologize for that. I've been coming to these BPAC meetings for a couple months now, and I've been trying to get a feel for how the whole process works before I start trying to make moves, right? How does an idea, or how does something go from an idea in someone's head, whether that's a city person or a citizen, to a plan that gets approved, and then from a plan that gets approved to a thing that exists in the real world? What are the players? I suspect there are many possible routes that path can take, right? Through different agencies, different people, different funding, money, power players, contractors. It's a really broad question, and I hope that I'm not asking you to lay it all out yourself, which is why I'm phrasing it. Is there a written procedure somewhere that could tell me these things?
I mean, there might be an SOP somewhere on that will probably touch on some of this, but what I'm hearing is the idea is coming from the ground and bubbling up to the top. Because there's also the reverse, right? There is the ideas from the public that come to city manager, and then they come to staff and say, "How do we make this happen?"
Yeah.
So, I would say, and I'm gonna let Kyle, because he has more experience in City Hall, and seeing different administrations and how they do things. There's a lot of new staff here. I'm one of them since COVID. To some degree, I think we are all learning on how to create those processes. And so I haven't seen anything specifically written down. And since I've been here, I've seen that process change a couple times. And not to say it hasn't worked well. I'm just saying I mean, to some degree, Ben has tried to create the written processes so that we can be a little bit more efficient. Did you have something, Kyle?
I mean, I can add to that a little bit, which is, I think, I'll just say there isn't a written process. There is not one. I mean, the closest thing to a written process, and I have to preface this with, when you say idea of installing something or infrastructure or a project or something like that, like the reason for the idea actually kind of matters. It's like, where did that come from? Is it from like some tragic event, like a traffic fatality? Is it, is it because of some public feedback around development and concern for traffic congestion? So there's a lot of weight and a lot of nuance and complexity in, where that comes from. And just like you said, where that comes from dictate the avenue that it takes, like who interfaces with that feedback or idea or problem first. Is it planning? Is it city manager's office? If it's a city manager's office, then it takes the route of coming from the city manager's office and council, and then coming to the staff and saying, we have this problem, you guys need to come up with some ideas on how to fix this. So that's one avenue. And then the other avenue is kind of bubbling up from the bottom, which is what Tommy's talking about, which is like, okay, this neighborhood or these people are going to lobby for this and, we have this problem, or Tommy's neighborhood walks or something like that, or getting involved in BPAC. I know it hasn't been, they're still trying to figure it out, probably kind of a nebulous thing. But the closest thing to any kind of procedure really is, and this is not a good answer, really is like in some kind of strategic plan, or like a master plan. So, like a good example of something going from idea to actually built using a master plan is the skate park. Because they were redoing the master plan for McIntyre, and the skateboarding community, they put a person at every meeting, table in the meeting, and they lobbied hard for it. Not that that's a procedure, not that that should have to be required, but they successfully got the skate park into the master plan, and then the funding and the grants and the funding and all of that. And it was executed. So that's just, I think that like putting some lobbying for something to be in a plan is probably the most official way that there is a procedure.
Yeah, it depends on the level.
Not the only way to do it. It's not like, I'm not trying to say like, yeah, just go get it in the department if you got an idea. Like there's many other ways, but as far as any kind of official way, that's probably the closest thing to an official way, is to kind of get something into a plan. But certainly not the only way.
And it's just, I've been doing a lot of research on this recently about skate park and some other things, especially about McIntyre Park. And it depends on what we're talking about, right? Because you just look at a bike ped master plan and there's a recommendation in terms of sidewalks. Some of that was taken as a like action item. This is your list, go and build. And some of that happened and some of it didn't. And then we're still using the same list 10 years later, and we've reprioritized it to some extent and added some to it. But our director in this department is pushing for work plans for each project that anyone does under NDS. Kyle and I both have several that we're working on. But none of this, I don't know that any of this really answers the questions that you're asking about. So,
and there is
Tommy
process about to unfold.
Well, I was just going to ask a follow-up of what kind of infrastructure you're curious about, because it could vary.
I'm talking about transportation, roads.
Right. Are you talking about between the curbs? Are you talking about the sidewalks? Are you talking about within city right of way? Are you talking about county jurisdiction as well?
I would like to learn about all of that.
Well, that's
maybe we need
keep coming. The BPAC. Because I don't know if you put in the staff notes, I put a little update in there about the MPO Tech Committee, because a lot of decisions get made on the MPO Tech Committee. To Zoe's point,
that's something I'm running up against. I hear a lot of acronyms and first names.
Yeah.
And those are things that I can search online.
100%. Yeah.
So the
jargon.
Yeah, agreed.
I think right now, the thing that you're running into, given the system that we work within right now, which is not very organized with how the process, but basically what you need to know is who's the right person to complain to.
Yeah.
You know, and like, I mean, I'm saying that that's the kind of shitty system we have right now. That's kind of how it works.
So before we run out of time, almost a year ago, I reported that a plastic thing got put in the road at Honda in Long Street, making it impossible to safely cross the road as a pedestrian or a bicycle. I brought that up again last month. I'll bring it up again tonight and next month, and nothing is happening. There's a slip lane now that's protected by this plastic spiked thing that separates that slip lane from the rest of traffic. The slip lane operates all the time, so it's impossible to safely cross either High Street or Long Street. The only way I can get across is putting my bike in traffic at a very busy intersection.
Can you
Heard this?
under the bridge?
Yeah.
Not there, no.
Yeah,
Yes, you can. The
Because, no, if I'm trying to get to Free Bridge Lane, if
Yeah.
I'm trying to cross over,
and then you take
there's
the trail.
there's a path that steps. But
You
not
can, so you can go two ways. You can stay on the eastbound side of 250 and cross on the sidewalk. And then go around, and it's all, you've got bike access all the way down on to connect under the bridge.
I'm coming up the river trail.
Yep.
I want to cross over the river.
That's right. You stay on, you do not cross 250. You do not ever do that. You go on the sidewalk or you go under the bridge. Like, it is some of our best grade separated infrastructure.
I go under the bridge all the time. I can't get over to Free Bridge.
Yes, you can. You stay on the sidewalk and then you go around and under the bridge. I've done it.
I think
We'll
you're
show-
thinking on one side, she's thinking you can do it on both sides.
You can do it on both
That
sides.
would be awesome.
Yeah, I
You
think
can do it on the
Because
left.
I was trying to
Like, well, let's,
pull my
I'll
phone.
walk you through it.
I have explored this lots of times.
I've done it many times. You can totally do it. You do not have to cross 250. That is like taking your life. You're gonna say, don't.
Yeah, I've talked to Public Works. They really like that flex post. It reduces costs. They're not really interested in changing their flex post. They really like that anchored system because when one gets knocked out, they just have to go. It's an easy fix to pop a new one in, and it doesn't require all this rigmarole. You know,
But this isn't individual posts. This is one apparatus.
that's what they like about it is that, like, if the post gets knocked out, the base is still there, and they just have to put one more in it and keep it moving. It reduces costs, time, all that stuff. So Public
I'll
Works
talk to
is.
you afterwards for about the wrap because you don't have to cross 250 and like.
I do it all the time. I live right there, and we should do a Saturday morning
We should do
live,
it.
so
We
we
should
just
do it.
all do it together.
Totally. And we need signage everywhere on all of our shared use paths because I think bikers also don't understand that they can be on those paths. They're not just for walkers.
This is
But I'm,
something that's come up internally recently to city, which is like, what's the wayfinding there?
Yes.
Like
Yes.
you're a person who rides a bike, like you do this and you haven't figured it out.
Yes.
Right? Like there needs
yeah,
to
you've
be-
lived here for a while. You're not like,
Peter Krebs and I did meet with a company this week, and I've met them a couple times called Bike Streets, Street Bikes. Anyway, look them up. They're doing some really cool stuff on digital wayfinding.
so it is 6:24,
Okay.
so I would want to keep us on the agenda because it is almost time to wrap. Any other final questions for Tommy? Questions for staff? And I'm seeing that Josh is acknowledging Josh Brown your pain. That intersection is terrible. I know all the ways. I live north of 250 and it sucks.
There's also some good things, by the way. There's a nice shared use path that takes you up there. So
Yeah, we're getting better all the time. Announcements, other business.
Neighborhood walk,
yeah,
December 14th, 1 p.m.
be there, be square.
Mobility Alliance meeting tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. on Zoom. Agenda items for the next VPAC meeting.
Agenda items. What?
Officer elections, we're gonna finalize the charter and the work plan. I realized we did not finalize the charter tonight. That was the other thing we're supposed to do. But I think we can get to it really quickly.
And like, can we spend like
You oughta
15 more
have
minutes on the
one.
VO stuff just in case like I collect everything?
I cannot spend 15 minutes on the VO stuff, but if anyone would like to spend 15 minutes on the VO next time. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We had a conversation about the operating budget and the capital budget next meeting. The proposed budget as it's moving forward, things that we want to be sure to support as voting citizens to stand behind what the city staff are proposing.
And we need to get the schedule of like public input sessions on the CIP budget, because I think we can talk about it here. I think we can also be directing people to go attend those sessions. And also always send your public comment to city council direct. Any other business? I'm trying to get to Food Lion.
So go to Food
I
Lion.
know, go to Food Lion on the trail.
Yeah, you decent connection, and
We do need a bike rail there.
I will just
on the
real quick,
stairs. Yeah.
because 30 years ago they built that bridge, and I read through all the meeting minutes of the former director of NDS, and they were talking about how bike and pedestrian friendly that bridge was, and they were super excited about the decision making on the wide sidewalks and the low railings so you can see the river. So at the time, that was like considered primo bike ped infrastructure on a free bridge.
And if it was in the city, it would be illegal to ride your bike over it, but it's in the county, so. Right?
That's right.
I guess technically, but one could argue that those meet shared use path standards because it's 8 feet wide concrete, but whatever.
It's still a sidewalk. That's why.
But is it a sidewalk?
For the city passed that, but it's in the county.
What is the definition of a sidewalk?
That's true.
Well, and I think that we should be advocating for eliminating that part of the city code, that it should not be illegal.
Add it to the work plan.
Another time.
All right.
If it's too late to add a question for staff for the record.
Sure.
What is the legal definition of a sidewalk?
Great.
There is technically in the standards and design manual a definition that's 5 feet wide, concrete, blah 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 blah.
5 feet wide?
Yeah.
Oh,
And
sidewalks are not-
no, I asked sidewalk.
sidewalk needs to be at least 5 feet wide. City code or city standards. That doesn't mean that something built 30 years ago was less.
Right,
Or
I mean-
50 years ago.
What-
Anything new, it needs to be 5 feet wide.
Right, so I mean, like, what am I gonna get a ticket if I ride my bike on it?
Well, so CPD is not actively interested in enforcing that part of the city code. I mean, maybe on a case by case basis, but those are conversations that have been had with advocates. So like, they're not trying to go bust people, at least is what they say. But I think the idea that you're like, oh, but I'm not allowed to ride on the sidewalk, so I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah.
When really, sometimes riding on the sidewalk is the safest option.
Which I'm sure we're all.
And yet, like Tommy's hands are tied because he can't tell people to do that. We can't put on the like Seville website like the easy route that involves riding on the sidewalk.
Yeah, I just wanna know the law.
I don't think we can ride on the sidewalk, but we can have that
But it
debate
depends if
later.
they wanna go. I just don't think it should be illegal.
Yeah.
And I think there are certain. I think bikers really need to understand that they have to yield to pedestrians. I think that's something that people don't know.
Well, there's a
And-
difference of like a 10-year-old riding a bike and like a 15-year-old or 50-year-old in
Yeah.
spandex, going 35 miles an hour.
And I think because our infrastructure is so suboptimal, sometimes you gotta ride on the sidewalk.
Sometimes, yeah.
Sometimes. It's
But if you then say it's allowed, then people just do it everywhere, and you have people walking out of a store and someone is riding a bike right into them. Anyway, people did it in Boston and drove me crazy.
It's legal. Well, it's legal in the county.
Yeah.
And oftentimes, like if you're riding from the city to the county, you literally can't do it safely without getting on the sidewalk.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
And
But if-
in the county, why would you be walking anyway?
If you collide with a pedestrian and you're riding a bike on the sidewalk, I bet that's a situation where the legality will be very
Yeah, you're
relevant.
at fault.
Yeah.
Which is why and this maybe just real quick, because VDOT has a study up, or they may have just closed it. With all these VDOT studies are typically looking at entrance corridors, so Avon, Fifth Street, 250, hydraulic, 29, whatever. Fontaine. That's why I think that all of those entrance corridors, any connection should be a shared use path. for that very reason. We shouldn't be looking at like building more sidewalks along entrance corridors. They all need to be shared use paths.
There should be clear signage on shared use paths so that pedestrians also know that you're not being.
Exactly. You're not being a jerk.
Yeah,
Right
we
there.
found
And bikers
around-
know. They're a lot.
I'm not going.
Well, this goes into another thing that we need I would like BPOC to discuss at some point is e-motos.
Oh yeah, conversation for another time. Motion to adjourn.
What's an email?
Second.
All
All
right.
those in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
I am.
Thank you, everyone on Zoom.
All those in favor say